Good evening and welcome to episode 76 of the Jacksonian. I'm yours truly, Jatson Johnson, and I have with me is the one and only host of Locked on Kansas State and host of Blueprint, the one and only himself, Christian Rauh. Is that right?
Yeah, Rauh. I like to tell people it's like Owen Wilson with an R in front of it. How Owen Wilson says "Wow," Rauh.
Yeah, Christian Rauh. Well, let me tell you something. You're going to be in for a wild ride with Christian Rauh as we will be going over our take on the latest on Kansas State football, including our take on Week 0 and what's to come from the 2025 NFL season. You're going to be in for a fun one, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing today, good buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing good, buddy. Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to talk Kansas State. It's going to be a really exciting season this year, and we get to start the year off. I mean, college football gets a taste of Kansas State right away. Week 0 against Iowa State, a Big 12 matchup in Dublin, Ireland. It's going to be super exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing Avery Johnson on full display, and a lot of people are underrating him, putting him super low, and I think that's going to change very quickly on August 23rd.
Well, for those who don't know about you, would you like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, I'm a military veteran. I've been doing sports content ever since I got out of the military in 2018. I've been all over the place. I found myself covering baseball, college sports, you name it. I've worked for Athlon Sports. I've worked for Sports Illustrated, and now I've been with Locked on Kansas State for about 7 months now. We're just going into the first full football season. Just hit 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Have great, great community over on Locked on Kansas State with my everydayers. And now I'm just looking to expand on that. I do have a couple things on the side that I work on, as you mentioned, with the Blueprint Sports Network of 32 Blueprint, where I do cover the NFL. But my prime job is covering Kansas State every single day. And I love it. Absolutely love talking about the Wildcats.
Oh man, well, I'll just tell you this: like you'll love where I got Kansas State going for this season.
All right. Okay.
I won't give it away till like middle part for sure. But oops, fourth wall break on the Jacksonian. Oh man. So as we start off the 2025 season, we're going to be starting off with Kansas State, Iowa State, and Ireland. Now, when that announcement was made, we're going to see Farmageddon in Week 0 in Ireland. What was the reaction when that happened?
I want to say it was a little bit of positive and negative, right? Now, let's do the negative side first. Obviously, losing a home game in Manhattan's never fun. Because of the atmosphere at Bill Snyder Family Stadium is just absolutely electric. It's so fun to watch just college football in Manhattan. But at the same time, when you try to expand it, Jackson, and try to talk about like bigger picture for the Big 12, for college football as a whole, Dublin's done quite well in the past couple of years. When you think about some of the amazing jerseys they've had, you think of some of those electric games they've had in the past few years as well. And then you think about, okay, now we're getting a conference matchup between two Big 12 opponents. Not only is it two Big 12 opponents, but you're getting Iowa State, who was just in Arlington last year for the Big 12 championship. They did fall, of course, but they made it. They bring back a lot of players as well. And then you have the tying Armageddon rivalry to it, which is one of the most underrated rivalries in college football. We don't talk about it enough. It's not even really talked about enough in our circles in Manhattan. If you know about Farmageddon, you know it's the best rivalry. I even think it's a bigger rivalry than KU and Kansas State, at least in the eyes of college football. And you're talking about Kansas State, who's on the up and up right now. And I can tell just by what you were alluding to, maybe speculating about how you feel about Kansas State in this season, it's going to be a really good game. So I'm both sided. I can understand why people are upset about it because you're losing a home game in Manhattan, but it's a chance. It's a chance to put Kansas State on the map right at the very beginning of the college football season, right where you started off 7-1 last year. You fell down to 8-4. You had a rough second half. Now you get to take all that bad taste out of the mouths of everybody who's thinking badly of Kansas State right away and start strong against Iowa State before anybody else gets a chance to do so.
Well, the winner of that game is obviously going to have a lot of momentum coming their way. But, it's just going to be interesting to see what's happening in Week 0 on ESPN at noon. And, oh my God, I forget what time it is over in Ireland. Dadgummit, I'm supposed to be looking at time zones and all that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what time it is either. I'm not going over to Dublin myself, so I can't say that I've been paying attention to what time. The thing is, I should probably know that. But I know that it's a 10 o'clock central game, or excuse me, an 11 o'clock central game. And a lot of people are not happy with that, saying we traveled all the way across the pond and we're still getting a game at Saturday at 11 a.m. And I think they wanted a little bit more prime time to start the year. But hey, look, this is the first taste of college football. You don't get any other week zero games before you get this one. So this is the very first game. And I think that's special. That's something that you get to hold on to the whole year. Now, is that something that might bite you in the butt later on, moving down the rest of the year? Because you have to start the season early. You're hoping to get to the college ball playoffs and back to Arlington for the first time since 2022. Well, with a schedule that's a week earlier than most, injuries come up and they pop up, and hopefully that's not something that they have to deal with once you get the week 11, 12, and hopefully into the conference championship.
I mean, it's way better than Michigan, Western Michigan, and Germany.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not sure what I think about that. We'll see, right? I mean, that's not is that truly a rivalry? Western, I mean, that's to me, it's like Michigan, Ohio State. Obviously, you're not going to get rid of that one and take that one to Germany, but I'm fair enough to say that this is a game that you would compare that to. This is a rivalry in the Big 12
Well,
when it
yeah.
comes to Iowa State and Kansas State. It might not be on a nationwide as big as Michigan, Ohio State, but in the local theater, in the Midwest, if you're talking Farmageddon here, you're thinking Iowa State, you're thinking Kansas State. And again, I think it's one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated rivalry in all of college sports.
Oh yeah, I mean, because it's like K State and Iowa State have been fantastic throughout the last few years. Like I know, like Kansas State, they've done very well with Bill Snyder. Before
Mhm.
he got there, they were a crap hole, and then like after Bill Snyder retires, Ron Prince, mid retires, and the day I'm getting my hair cut at 11 years old on a Sunday, Bill Snyder comes out of retirement and is getting his second stint. Kansas State's rocking and rolling, and this time he's making sure they've got a plan. He's like, I'm not doing this again. I am not coaching at 90 years old. No, y'all are getting Chris Kleiman, and they do.
Yeah, and I think Chris Kleiman is the perfect person to fill the shoes of a very mighty big shoes, if you will, of Bill Snyder. He's the perfect successor, if that's probably the better word. I think he does a great job. I think he brings that Midwest mentality. He already had some fantastic FCS experience and success when he was in his prior coaching. He's an Iowa kid as well, so he's built in the Midwest. It fits him, and the behavior, the attitude, the culture, everything that Chris Kleiman brings to the table is Bill Snyder light, if you will. I think he brings his own kind of touch to it, but I think he's a perfect successor for Bill Snyder. I really like what Chris Kleiman does and what he brings to Kansas State. And he focuses on fit. And I think that's really important, especially when you're talking about a Midwest team in the Big 12. You're not always going to find these 5 stars or maybe even high 4 stars, Jackson, but what you have to do is you have to make the best out of what you can get and what you can bring into your program. And we see 2-star, 3 stars, whatever the case may be, turn into NFL talent. We saw a walk-on and Jacob Parrish become a 3rd-round NFL draft pick this past season for the Kansas State Wildcats. And you got to give a lot of credit to Chris Kleiman and his recruiting staff and his coaching staff for the development and for finding that type of fit. They continue to do that year in and year out. And I think that's what makes it so exciting to follow this program.
Oh yeah, I mean, because it's like we don't know about there being a lot of consistency throughout the Big 12, but one thing you can really count on is that Kansas State is always going to be contending in the Big 12. That is the one consistent team that that's going to be consistent. And if they're having a really down year, like a sit year, that means the earth is burning.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's been quite some time since we've been there. I mean, just having an 8-4 season, 9-4 if you add the bowl game win, has been a disappointment, right? Especially since you started the season so strong last year, only having 9 wins the last couple seasons since getting to Arlington in 2022 has easily been a disappointment because the talent on the roster is so much better. And when you look at what you're supposed to see this upcoming year, although the schedule is a pretty tough schedule, might you add, the more I look at it, the more I'm like, man, this schedule gets a little bit more intense. I don't know how I feel about this schedule. At first, I'm like 12-0, no doubt. Now I'm like, okay, are we going to get to that 10 win mark? because there's just a lot of tough games on the schedule. I don't like the road schedule at the end of the year as well. But I do think the ceiling of this team is at least 10-2 with 2 losses in the schedule. If I had to go, and you highlighting one of them right now, if I had to go on a prediction, Jackson, and say what I think this record's going to be and where their losses come, I think they go 10-2 and they finish with a 2-loss record in the conference. I think that will be good enough to still make it to Arlington. I don't like that Saturday, October 4th game in Waco against Baylor Bears. Waco is always a tough place to play. I don't know what I think about Baylor this year. I know Dave Aranda is coming out with some crazy things to talk about, but Baylor is one of those teams that you really got to watch out for. And then you highlighted Utah towards the bottom. There's a lot of hype about the Utah Utes, especially coming back, playing them and playing Oklahoma State in Stillwater. There's no way in my mind with the Big 12, as much parity as this conference has from top to bottom. I mean, look at last year. We predicted Arizona State to finish last in the conference. They win the whole dang thing, find themselves in the college football playoffs. There's no way that Oklahoma State and Utah will both be at the bottom in the Big 12 yet again. And we have to play them back-to-back on the road in 2025. So I'm going to go 10-2. My predictions are losses against Baylor and Utah, but I think it's still good enough to make it to Arlington on December 6th.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Kansas State, to be honest with you, losing to Utah. That's like my only loss for them. Because, I mean, like Colorado, they're rebuilding for this year. I mean, Colorado's going to have a say in who gets in the Big 12 title, but that's it. Oklahoma State, I feel like they'll be good enough to be a bowl team. Texas Tech, they're kind of like the Syracuse of college football, where everybody's talking about Syracuse